Okay, so this is a part 2 video about how I cleared my skin. So if you didn't watch part 1, then I suggest you hop on over and watch that first, because that kind of explains why I'm doing this part. So anyway, I figured I would do a part 2 because I figured if you were thinking about, becoming a vegan or trying that dairy-free lifestyle to help clear your skin, then I would just give you some helpful tips on how I did it. And like I said in part 1, this wasn't something that was super easy for me. It wasn't something that I was wholly committed to. It was just something that I knew I had to do. So it was kind of a struggle. So you can do this in any way that you feel would be best for you. I did it in a way I eliminated the products that were the easiest and my least favorite, and I worked on that way. Which is actually kind of funny because it's also the products that I consumed the most, even though they were my favorite. Anyway, the point is, so I gave up milk first, and that took me a while to find a milk that I really liked. I tried soy milk, rice milk, cashew milk, and nothing did it for me. It wasn't until I tried almond milk, and I used any brand of almond milk, really. My favorites are just the Walmart Value brand, and then also the Silk. Silk is fine with me as far as almond milk goes. I like the vanilla as like a regular, like if you just feel, it tastes like a vanilla milkshake to me, so that's really good for anything as far as like if you just want something sweet, or if you want to add it to cereal. Sometimes it's a little bit too much for cereal, but it's good in that. Smoothies, milkshakes, anything like that. They have unsweetened and then they have original as well, and those two, I would probably say unsweetened is good for things like if you're going to start making mashed potatoes, anything else that you would normally add milk to, like baking, things like that, that's what it's good for. The original, to me, I'm pretty sure is just almost like a vanilla, but not vanilla-y and not so sweet. So I really don't ever get the original because, like I said, if I'm cooking, if I'm using a milk replacer, then I'm using the unsweetened. If I want something, to drink, I use the vanilla. The second part, they have chocolate milk. It is amazing. The chocolate milk, almond, same thing, Silk, whatever, to die for. Just amazing. So I started doing that. Let's see, what did I move on to? So, did I give up cheese? I started giving up certain types of cheese. So I think I started doing things like I would pick the cheese off my pizza and just do that, but I would still eat, like, if there was, I don't know, let's say, so I still kept eating mac and cheese because I couldn't find a replacement, things like that. So I just started eliminating food groups or types of food, and I worked my way off that, and that was the easiest for me. It was really hard in certain things, like, it was okay to give up a grilled cheese or whatever for me, but to give up mac and cheese, like, that was my whole heart and soul. It was tremendously difficult. But one day I just said, I gotta quit it. So then I cut it all out. Anything with cheese, even if it had like some Parmesan sparkled on it, sprinkled, I, nixed it. So my last thing was so terrible. I worked at this store that made dipped fruit. I'm sure you can guess. But anyway, it was we did like dipped bananas, dipped apples, and I loved that so much. I loved it so much. But that was my last thing I had to give up. And that same thing, I just walked into work one day and they offered me some, and I said, nope, no more. So that, honestly, it was a year process for me to fully, I think from start to finish, from milk to chocolate, it was a year. So I didn't really give you any idea about cheeses. So I started off trying Daiya cheese, Daiya, however you want to say it, because that's pretty much all that was available to me. And that was mostly what some of the restaurants were using as replacements, and it was fine. I definitely wouldn't say that it was like it didn't remind me of cheese. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this is but it just kind of like, cooled the edge off for you, or took the edge off, if you will. But it wasn't anything amazing. So sometimes I still will use Daiya shreds. if I'm desperate. But I finally found the holy grail of cheese. It's called Follow Your Heart. It's amazing. Somebody introduced it to me, and it was like the best thing, that it was the best gift I could have ever received. They have it in just like the regular spring cheese. They have it in like the Parmesan. They also have it in the cheese squares, which is my favorite because that was something that I missed. I missed being able to have just a cheese, you know, sandwich or like a grilled cheese, things like that. You can even put it on if you want to just do like a baked mac and cheese. Tastes the exact same. That was the one thing with dairy-free cheese that was always hard for me, was that you couldn't eat it cold. You could only eat it if it was like melted into something, because other than that it was just disgusting. But this cheese, like, you could eat right out the freezer, fridge, not the freezer, you don't want to freeze it, but the fridge. It's delicious. My boyfriend at the time too was like nowhere near being a vegan or anything, and he was eating it, so that just goes to show you. The only things that I still kind of have trouble with were, so when it came down to like your cream cheeses, your sour creams, I'm trying to think what else, mostly those two. There are two brands and they're slipping my mind right now, so I'll have to look those up and put those in the description, but they're okay. They're not really that great. Same thing, they're kind of better if they're mixed into something. Like when I mix the sour cream into like a dip or something like that, like I really can't taste the difference. But if I just put it on like my potato, it's not the greatest, but it's whatever. Chocolate was another one it's kind of hit or miss with me, because there's a lot of like chocolate syrups and things like that that don't have dairy in them, so sometimes you just luck out. But then, you know, like cocoa powder, things like that. But then, like, just a nice, good old milk chocolate candy bar, very hard to come by, at least in my area. So finally, I have found some cooking chips, if you will. They're kind of like a semi-sweet, and you can get those at Whole Foods. Same thing, I don't really know what those are called, so I'll look those up and put those in the description as well. But you can use those to cook with, so, you know, if you want to make chocolate chip cookies, or I haven't tried this yet, but I'm pretty sure that it would work because they do melt just the same. But I usually like to do like dipped chocolate. That was something that my family would do a lot for different holidays and stuff like that. So, you know, like we would take nuts and pretzels and dip them in melted chocolate, and they would just be a really nice holiday special. So that's something that I want to try. So if anybody's tried that, let a girl know, because I'm interested in doing that. And I know that there is white chocolate that's dairy free, but I haven't tried anything yet. So that was kind of the process that I went. So like I said, milk was the easiest for me to eliminate, and it was my least favorite. Worked my way over to the cheese, which that way, like I said, I didn't just give up the whole cheese group. I gave up types of cheeses, so like pizza off the cheese, and then, you know, then I would give up, let's say, lasagna or whatever, like whatever. And then chocolate was so hard to give up. And honestly, like, people ask me, because I've been a vegetarian, like, and they're like, don't you just ever just want like a cheeseburger? No, I don't. But they used to say, well, like, if you could just have one thing, and I'm like, just like a big chocolate cake. Like, that's what I would fantasize about. So ever since I've found some like dairy-free chocolate, it's been a tremendous difference. So those are